Halifax Sports Talk Weekend Recap. Andrew and Dayton with you. It's Monday, February 9th. And yes, we know Olympics is on your mind, Olympic hockey, but we got to keep you guys in tune with the Halifax Mooseheads and everything local. And yeah, of course, we'll touch on the Olympics as well. Dayton, how are you, man?
Not too bad, not too bad. A weekend split. We were just talking about it. You never know what's going to happen when these two teams face off. Halifax and Cape Breton, they could be wherever they are in the standings. One team could be at the top, one team could be at the bottom, but it's always going to be a good game when you get the provincial battle going here in, I guess, well, this time it was in Cape Breton. It started, but I was going to say Halifax, but it doesn't matter where they're playing. It's always a good one.
We've seen so many of these home and homes this season already, whether it be with Moncton, whether it be with Charlottetown, or even St. John, now the Cape Breton Eagles. It's hard to win two games in a row against the same team. And, especially if you lose that first one, you're going to fight. You're going to have that more sense of urgency. And of course, we see it again. As you mentioned, Moose go 1-1 over the weekend against the provincial rivals. And I think that they've been able to develop these rivalries against teams like Moncton or even some of the Quebec-based teams, Drummondville, Baie-Comeau back in the day. But let's face it, the provincial rivals, you have that jersey right behind you, Dayton. It's always going to be the big rivalry for the Halifax Mooseheads. So two very exciting games, but I always get a good laugh when it's the road team that takes the win both times. So the home fans show up and they don't get anything. And then, of course, the teams go on the road and they get the job done. Sometimes just the way it works out.
100%. I was actually on Friday night when they were playing that game up in Cape Breton. I was doing a game in Berwick, just 5 minutes down the road from where I live, doing some play-by-play. I came back around 9 o'clock, through the replay of the Moose game on, and I think it was about the 18-minute mark of the second period. Mavs Gillis on the play-by-play at Eastlink goes, you know, every game this year has been won by a score of 5 to something. The winning team always has 5 goals, no matter when these two teams play. And I was sitting there thinking, what a coincidence if Mavs just calls this right now. And he did actually. He called it another 5 goal game for the winner. Every game this year, Andrew, between the Cape Breton Eagles and Halifax Mooseheads has been decided by a 5 goal score for the winning team. Kind of nuts, actually. They played
Not
8
gonna lie,
times, I think.
that makes me a little tempted to hop over to Cool Bet. I'm not gonna lie, hearing that exact number of goals. But let's take a look back, take a look at the results and who played well. And I've been a big fan of Danny Walters. He had himself a night on Friday night, 2 goals and an assist. So great to see that. 3 points for him. What did you see overall for this Halifax Mooseheads team? Usually they take some time to get their weekend started, as I've kind of been calling them out for. And this time around, it was the opposite. They got off to a very hot start, putting 5 goals up on the board. And hey, how about a goal from Owen Phillips on the blue line?
Man, couple of goals. The first one from Danny Walters was like an absolute bullet. It was a one-timer, but it was one of those one-timers where you pick it up and it was on his, I guess it was his weak side. So he's coming towards the net, or no, his strong side. So he's coming towards the net, puck towards the middle, and he gets a pass down low. And it was maybe on his stick, the blade of his stick for maybe a second, if that. And he little toe drag release, lets it go past the blocker of Hamel. An absolute rip from Danny Walters. And it was the quick release that got it past the blocker for sure. And you talked about Owen Phillips. He let one go from the point, just ripped it, stood into one, and put it right up over the shoulder on the short side. So 2 goals over the blocker. That might be the spot to go if you're looking to beat Felix Hamel this season. But 2 great goals from 2 goal scorers that have been a little consistent here in the recent goings.
And great to see an Owen Bresson performance. You talk about those guys showing up and 35 saves for him, Friday night, get off to a good start. This team, if you're Coach Brad McKenzie, though, you got to think, can we just string back-to-back good games in a row together, right? Like you're thinking there's how many times has he delivered that speech after a tough game one of the weekend, and the team has bounced back in a huge way for game 2 of the weekend. And now it was kind of that flat effort a little bit. Don't want to discredit Cape Breton because a lot of it's, of course, due to Cape Breton bouncing back. But when you look at it, same scoreline, both games at the Scotiabank Center, game 2, we see a 5-2 win there. And the Eagles got off to a real good start in that game.
100%. And it was much thanks to former Moosehead Reese Pike. He scored one in the game before as well. He's definitely always buzzing around when he plays his former team. He was knocked down to Junior A. He got called back up into the Q. Cape Breton was the team that was willing to give him a shot, and he's been pretty consistent. Although he wasn't the most consistent player, maybe he just didn't fit Halifax's roster build as they were going to enter a rebuild. But he's found a mark here in Cape Breton, and he's been playing his butt off the past couple of seasons. This season, he's been showing himself off as a leader, and whenever he comes back home to the Scotiabank Center, he tends to show out. And this time he found the back of the net, not once, but twice.
And, I think that a lot of people will look at that game and say, well, Breton had 35 saves in night 1. We see, as far as Circa goes, 26 and 30, of 30 shots faced. I think a lot of that has to do with the team as well. Like, we get so caught up sometimes in goaltenders' wins and losses or goaltenders' save percentages and things. And this is the thing, and I'm not sure where you stand on this, Dayton, and we don't have the information for this, but this is why, to a certain degree, the one instance where I actually care about analytics is for goaltending, because the whole expected goals against and goals saved above expected or goals saved above average, that type of stuff does interest me for goaltenders, because it at least describes to you how the defense played as well, right? Like, we don't know. If we look at that and say, oh, well, it looks like Circa didn't have a good night, we don't know without watching the game if there was 2-on-1s, if there were power plays, if there were wide open tap-ins. So, yes, Breton got the win Friday night, but they definitely could have been better in front of Circa on Saturday.
100%. That's something that kind of goes under or unnoticed a lot of times. You have the score sheet, and you have these people that kind of just only look at the score sheet, Andrew. It doesn't really show you what happened, the situational value of every play. It's just the number and the guy's name beside it. And unfortunately, Circa just had the 4 goals get past him, and that's what was on the number, or that's what was on the score sheet.
Looking at this Halifax Mooseheads team, do you think that they can transition for the remainder of this season as a team that can play in low-scoring games? Because that's what you need come playoff hockey. We know it tightens up. We know even in the Q, the whistle goes away a bit more come playoff time. Can this team do it? You talk about Mavs talking about the exact score predictions and things. Can this team win some low-scoring games? And what do they have to change, do you think, to do so? Because at this point, it seems like they either score 4 or 5 or they score 1 or 2. It hasn't really been able to find that balance yet.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Andrew, when they score 1 or 2, they're usually losing. So it's not the best look right now for Halifax. If you can get back into playoff form and maybe start solidifying your defense, like Carlos Handel said at the very first game of the season when they were over in Charlottetown, he said their defense is going to be a big piece this year. It definitely is, but they just can't seem to keep pucks out of their net. And when they are scoring, they're still allowing pucks to get by them. So like you said, it's either a low scoring game where they usually don't come out on top, or it's a high scoring game where it's back and forth all the way to the end. So it'll be interesting to see how they turn things around come playoff time. I think Brad McKenzie might have to look around and see what other options he has to get things going, whether it's a new look of a lineup where he moves some guys around. Cam Manella, saw him score in Cape Breton. He's a young 16-year-old defenseman, hasn't been played too much this season, but if someone like that's been playing well, maybe you bring a guy like that into the lineup and just see what kind of spark anything can make at this point.
Because some players are out there for defensive purposes, shutdown purposes, and I think that's what junior hockey will teach you, is that look, Danny Walters is a good example of this. He's starting to turn it on goal scoring wise. He's picking it up points wise, but he's not on Draft Central scouting for, lighting up the league. It's 200-foot hockey. It's the way he plays that role player. And they're going to want to see that from some of these other players down the lineup. If you're not scoring find a way to make yourself valuable. But you know what? We'll take some positives out of it. The Moose looked great on Friday night at Center 200, and we'll see if they can, bring some of that momentum, at least from that game moving forward. They're currently sitting in 7th place. And one thing we can say, at least as a positive, is this division, this conference overall has been pretty competitive. Like in the NHL this year, we've talked about the Atlantic Division. Well, just talking about the overall conference that the Mooseheads are in right now, looking at where they stack up with Charlottetown and everybody around them here, Dayton, it's been very similar for some of these teams as well. Win one, lose one type of environment. So it goes to show that it has been a very competitive conference overall.
100%. And I look at a team like Quebec actually jumping up. Charlie Morrison, he's a Maritime boy. He was actually just recognized. He's been moving up. He's actually jumping up the Central Scouting rankings as well. He's probably going to be drafted, I would say, within the first few rounds. I don't want to put a number on it just yet because, guys can fall. Like this past draft, Andrew, there were guys that weren't getting drafted no matter how good you were. If you weren't over 6 feet or 6'1" or something like that, your name wasn't getting called at this past year's draft. So things like that can always happen. But I'm looking to a guy like Charlie Morrison and the Quebec Remparts to do a little bit of damage. They've moved themselves up past Charlottetown, who look to be kind of rolling with guys like Nathan Leake, the junior chicken monster. But I guess we'll see where things fall at the end of the season. Halifax might need a couple more wins to get things going. They're only 3 points back of Charlottetown, like you said. Not too much work to be done. But when you can't string 2 games together in a row, it might be kind of tough to get going come playoff time.
Got to be able to have the consistency. Got to be able to do it on a night in, night out basis, not just one night and then not the other. So we'll see. It's all about buying in, but look forward to following along with the Halifax Mooseheads. And I loved seeing this past weekend, though, the rivalry, because it's made very clear. The Mooseheads fans show up. The Cape Bretoners show up at Center 200. It was definitely a rivalry weekend, that's for sure. And both teams win the exact same scoreline, 5-2. Let's talk a little bit of Olympic hockey here. And, we're so proud of all the Nova Scotians and Maritimers representing at the Olympics. And, of course, with this being mostly a hockey show, we're talking a lot about Sid and Nate and Marchand. And, well, let's not forget about Blair Turnbull. But there's so many athletes we can look at. But we got one guy there on the right, Moffat. We can't forget about him either.
Yeah, Liam Moffat. He's a snowboarder. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna pretend I'm the biggest athlete watcher from around the Maritimes. If you're not a hockey player, I probably haven't heard of you unless your name is let's be honest, I probably haven't heard of you. Liam Moffat, though, congrats for representing the province of Nova Scotia. Anytime you do that and you make it to an Olympic Games, they were talking actually about one of the Indian athletes in the opening ceremonies. And these players, these athletes, they don't, the ones that aren't on the teams, the hockey teams and stuff, they have to fund their own way to these games. He had to probably raise so much money to get to Milan. It's actually insane. I remember when I was fundraising to go play an exhibition tournament overseas, we had to fundraise $8,000 just selling hot dogs outside of Sobeys. But the stuff this guy would have had to do to raise the money to get to play or to compete at an Olympic level, top notch. Hats off to him.
Great stuff. Yeah, super. And then that's the thing is that it's such a huge moment for everybody. Everybody comes from different paths and things. And we got to mention, of course, Sid getting the C. No surprise to anybody. Nate does not get a letter. Makar and McDavid get the other letters. But I sent you the Arpin Basu New York Times article, and you can pretty much tell that Nate doesn't care about anything else besides winning. I don't think his feelings would be hurt for not having a letter. In that article that I sent to you, Nate pretty much said he's not there for fun. His fun is playing hockey. He's there to win. I'm not going to lie. First impression seeing that was man, this guy is crazy. This guy's a little bit nuts. But it's also this is why we love him. This is the kind of guy we want on our team. And let's be honest here. Sid laughs at Nate for being like that, but Sid gets that mindset or Nate gets that mindset from Sid. Like, we got to be real when we say that there. So he said, like, I'm not really here to make friends or watch 10 events per day. You know, what's going to be fun for me is if we can win this tournament. So pretty intense stuff. Captain Canada, Sidney Crosby. Look, a lot of people are saying that this is McDavid's team, but he's just not wearing the C. I think from a leadership perspective, we all know this is Sidney's team. And they had him listed as a third line center at practices. If you're going to have Sidney Crosby as a third line center, I think your team's pretty good.
100%. People were also making big noise about the fact that Tom Wilson is on the first line. Let's be real here, folks. It's practice number uno. Things like this kind of tend to change at longer tournaments. They've got 4 round robin games, I do believe. The women play 3, the men play 4. If you think that Tom Wilson is still going to be on the top line after practice 1 till the end of round robin, I don't know what to tell you. Things are going to change. John Cooper's just trying to fit things in where they need to be. But yes, I do think this roster is very skilled.
I just think it's so cool that you can put Wilson there with Celebrini and with McDavid, like how much ice that opens up. I know that the international refereeing is a little bit softer, so he's going to have to be careful, but that was pretty cool to me to see, like, yeah, he's going to have some open ice. You know, he's going to be able to create some havoc, create some distractions. And like, think about it. I know it's not a physical NHL game compared to, like, you know, the aggression of the NHL playoffs, but you got to think, if you're McDavid or if you're Celebrini, you're pretty comfortable flying around the ice knowing that Tom Wilson is your other line mate. Like, you know, if anybody comes next to hit you or whatever. And also the F1, like, you're going to have a guy like Tom Wilson going and crashing and banging against the boards, winning battles. And then if he can be a puck retriever, it's a good sign for them. So anyway, we're really, and I got to say this. Brad Marchand kind of taken over as the social media guy for the team has been making me laugh. Like, he's like, yeah, I'm not on TikTok, but the internet can do their thing. Like, he's like, I think the guys are already mad at me putting my camera in their face so much, but it's been pretty funny to watch.
Oh, you got to love him. And if you have someone like that with that much character doing it, it's obviously going to turn out great. And for the Wilson stuff, it's almost like the McSorley to his Gretzky, if you know what I mean. You got someone out there like that, you need a protector. Marty McSorley, Tom Wilson, as long as he's not using any illegal curves, Andrew, 93, you know that, everything will be just fine.
Well, I can't wait to watch. Can't wait to be promoting and talking about the Maritimers all across the Olympics and across all sports, not just the hockey. So look forward to it, and look forward to talking Mooseheads. Look forward to talking Thunderbirds on Thursday. And again, guys, training camp getting underway, and the Wanderers have made their announcements for where their training camp travels will take place. We'll talk about that on the Thursday show. So cannot wait to keep on rolling here with Halifax Sports Talk. Make sure you guys are tapping in across all social platforms. And if you guys want to listen to us on the go, we are on podcasting platforms as well, on Apple, on Spotify. You guys can find us. And of course, we're always talking about the Maritime and local teams. So Mooseheads go 1-1 in the Battle of Nova Scotia against the Eagles. Hey, what else do we expect? A 1-1 series split. We hope you guys all had a great weekend. Enjoy all the games, and we'll see you next time.